of damp on the ceiling. I need to see Anastasia to warn her what's coming. A high-pitched beeping sound alerted her that someone was about to enter the room, and she scrambled to a sitting position. A tall, scarred man with an intimidating build unlocked the cell door and entered with a tray of food. It was Sir Nikolai Olov, the king's partisan, and the person she dreaded seeing the most. He stared at her as he placed a tray of grey food on a small table in the centre of the room. Nikolai usually escorted whoever was lucky enough to bring her food, but occasionally he'd carry the tray down alone. This meant only one thing: interrogation. Nikolai sat on a plastic chair by the table and took a long, exasperated breath. He knew as well as she did exactly how this would go, the same way it had every other time. He rubbed the stubble on his chin, his fingers grazing the scar on the left side of his face. Saskia San Martin, he said her name with a low grumble. She didn't respond, instead reaching to spoon up grey lumps of food, which she then allowed to fall back to the tray. He ignored her actions. You need to tell us everything you know about Leviathan. Her spoon froze in midair, and she stared at him blankly. There was only one possible response, the same words he'd heard her say over and over again since the day she'd been thrown into this dungeon. I want to speak to my master, she said slowly. Anastasia Allcroft.
Part 1. Family. Chapter 1. Lottie winced as she felt the palace floorboards vibrate beneath her feet. The knowledge that Saskia was down there somewhere sent a prickle up her spine with every step. But Lottie couldn't dwell on that now. She needed to stay focused. She needed to stay poised. She needed to act like a perfect princess until this party was finally over. Then she could get back to Ellie and finish packing for Rosewood. Lottie was being treated to a grandiose birthday soiree, attended by some of the world's most powerful press. She'd been on her feet for nearly 2 hours, smiling and shaking hands with influential people who all believed she was the real Maravish princess. Thankfully, the king and queen had imposed a strict no photography rule to protect her identity, to limit people recognizing her in public. The palace's gallery had been adorned with jewel-encrusted streamers, and the marble pillars were encased with winding ribbons of rainbow colours. Frilly tablecloths covered tables that were piled high with offerings for the princess, each gift fighting to outdo the last. Lottie was dressed in traditional Maravish garb, including a dark embroidered sash that circled her long-sleeved jade dress. A silver tiara nestled in her curls, a gift from her mother on her birthday, just over 9 years ago. Just over 9 years ago. This whole party was a charade. It wasn't Lottie's birthday. Hers had been 5 days before. Today, 1st of September, was Ellie's birthday. Lottie wasn't even really a princess. She was standing in for her friend. And that was a secret that none of the guests could possibly be allowed to guess. Are you okay? By her side, Jamie kept his voice low enough so that only she could hear. Lottie had been asked this question too many times over the past few weeks, and it always left a hard feeling in the pit of her stomach. Yes, of course, she said automatically, her eyes drawn to a figure approaching them. Tall woman, on my left. Jamie glanced in that direction. Olga Ulov, editor of the Golden Sovereign. The older ebony-haired woman wore a pristine silk suit as she strode through the colourful crowd. In contrast to all the other guests, Jamie was wearing a simple black shirt and trousers, his dark hair scraped back from his face. Lottie had tried to get him to relax, but he'd remained rigidly alert during the whole party, scanning the room, convinced something terrible might happen again. Olga stopped in front of them and dipped her head in greeting. Princess Eleanor Wilfson. She dragged the name out slowly, her eyes narrowing as her gaze